I can recall. All right, let me say that bit again then. That remember that you are in a business. And I think the most successful actors are those who see it as a business, who remember that it's a business, take the business on its own terms. If all you want to do is act, then do theater. Question: in what other industry can you do a couple of classes or not and be allowed to do a full day's work, learning as you go, kind of winging it? Dentistry? A veterinarian? Coding? Banking? Midwifery? What about ballet? Or an orchestra? There is no industry where you can come in and just say, I want to have a go, and potentially within a month, within a week, possibly the next day, be full on in the middle of that. In the ER, for example, took a couple of workshops, not sure what I'm doing, but got my scrubs on, right? Only acting, and I think we've done ourselves a disservice in some ways. I have a question. Sean, how long does it train to do what you do? Can you come online? I don't know if you're a nurse's anesthesiologist or?
Yes. Well, now that they've taken our program to the full 3 years, it was 2 when I went through. So after your basic bachelor's, it was another 2 years. And then you have clinical during those 2 years of intensive training, and then you take boards. So as a nurse anesthetist or nurse anesthesiologist, which it's tending to lean toward that terminology. So that's through the nursing route. If you're an anesthesiologist through the doctor route, then you do your 4 years of med school and then 3-year residency in anesthesia or more. So ours comparable is like 3 and 3, but they're different routes to get there. So
you couldn't just do a couple of workshops and then, no.
Right? No, not when you're putting people under and bringing them back, hopefully.
Right, right. But also in ballet, let's move to the arts, or playing an instrument, right? So I want you to remember that. I want you to remember that kind of acting, in some ways, we've not done ourselves a favor. It really, even in terms of Shakespeare, you can't do a couple of workshops, but somehow in film, there's that. And I think that's curious. And I think it's just something for you to think about so that you're not so hard on yourself, right? Remember, even if you do everything asked of you in this workshop, in every workshop, it's the most competitive arena to be in. So my question to you is, why have you chosen to be in it? Is it not to compete for a role? And I only ask that because I want you to think about sometimes your disappointment, which is valid, or this isn't for me. You know, when you're having a bad time, a hard time, remember the big picture. It's a business that is highly competitive. There is no playbook, and our industry is not regulated or very minimally regulated. That's why we have Me Too happening. It's not regulated, except by unions, but even then. So there are many ways to direct a film, and there are many ways to come to acting, but the desired outcome is the same. To tell a story that moves the watcher and or educates them. All right, but it's not, people want to know sometimes, how do I do this and how do I do that? And I've done as much as she has. It's unregulated. There's no playbook. There are regional casting directors and LA casting directors. I'm a regional casting director, right? It just simply means we're not in LA. Regional markets are different from the LA market. Please remember that, right? Some of you might be taking LA workshops, some things are the same, but I think what a casting director in New Mexico teaches you will differ slightly because of the projects that go there. All right. Just as an LA casting director will say some of the same things, especially in terms of the business, but very different motivations, different markets. Must be the difference between, like, working for the stock exchange and working for Spokane Teachers Credit Union, right? Let's see. There is no playbook for how to direct. Rosie, how much direction did you get from Bill Polad?
I got I mean, for my like role, I felt it was actually like I felt supported by him genuinely. I did not, that's why I kind of liked it so much, because I thought he's so like sweet, and he did give, I mean, I didn't necessarily have too much to, I was very prepared and everything, but he did give a nice amount of information and direction that I was like, I did not expect. So I was happy about that.
That she did not expect. Thank you, Rosie. Right? She was one of the lucky ones. I was coaching some actors who was their first time on a film set, younger actors, first time. Maybe I had coached them in the audition or something, and so they contacted me afterwards. But some people said they didn't get any direction from him. Well, yeah, he's probably busy with the bigger picture. All right. So there are no rules. I say this so that you don't go into, a session or a project and get very little. The expectation is that you know what to do. Yeah. That scene I did with Samuel L. Jackson, that was my first time being in film. I was not interested in film. I don't think I'm a good film actor at all. I just drop in occasionally. That was my first film. I think the reason I was able to do it was because I was playing a therapist, and the other half of my life is as a therapist in real life, working as a therapist, studying with therapists. That's why. Which is why I asked you, what is your story? What do you come with, right? Because I knew intuitively how to listen really well. And that's 50% of film acting. I didn't get a single direction. And another time I'll tell you about a very embarrassing moment that I had, which showed that I was a complete newbie. But yeah, every director is different. My current project, you are the first to know, this is not shared on social media. I'm about to start casting, which is like, oh my God, it's Christmas. I'm about to start casting. Hooray! But hooray! It's season 2 of Going Home. It's a 6-part miniseries. My current project has 8 out of 11 bigger roles. So there are bigger roles, sort of guest star. 8 out of 11 are for characters over 50.
Yay for the old ones.
My actors of 50 can spend a lot of time bemoaning the lack of roles. When I get solid roles for 50 plus, it's still competitive. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
Right? So again, remember, it's competitive. And sometimes it's based on how many workshops you've done, but ultimately that profile and your ability to show up is what counts the most. It doesn't mean, it means those are the bigger roles I've got. Actually, but I have more roles, but I'd be surprised if 8 were under 40. I mean, I don't know that I have that many younger roles. Actors at the intersection of race, gender, age. A Samoan woman who is 62 has to work 3 times as hard as anyone just to get in the pool. So let me just give you that as a real context. A Black woman who's 62 has to work 4 times as hard, however many workshops. I know because I pitch them. I know what I've got to say. I know what I've got to do. So again, think of the bigger picture. Think of where you are in that bigger picture. No one is entitled to a role. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. I have stories. It's okay to get upset and be with the upset when you don't get the role. Yeah, that's normal. It's called feeling disappointed. Be with the feelings. Acknowledge, I didn't get that and I really wanted it. And I'd already spent my first check and I told everyone on social media, yeah. Be with the feelings and then let them pass and then get back on the horse and try again. That is how the business works. Sean, can you mute your microphone? Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I just heard you typing. So no one is entitled. I've received hate letters, hate mail. I have received people telling me to my face with rage. I have been trolled through my website, a mother for her daughter. No one is entitled to a role. Okay. What else? How does casting work? I was struck by your questions about how I get paid. I was like, oh, no one's ever asked me those questions. So I just thought I'd give you a little bit more context about how a casting director gets the gig. A movie comes to town, and I am the first point of contact. The client producer from LA comes to town and is shown around by a host, right, who lives in Spokane or Seattle. And they look for two things first, locations and actors, the location manager and the casting director. They always want to know if I can cast, if I think I can fulfill casting with a local cast. Can you cast 29 roles in Washington State? I mean, they almost didn't give me that. And I said, I can do it. And they said, well, these are some bigger roles. And I said, you know, is it like, I think, God, I wonder if a white man has to convince them as much as I do after 16 years of casting in the same market that I can do it. I'm saying the same thing as I said 16 years ago when I was told, well, you probably can't find 9-year-old twins, 9-year-old child actors that look like twins. And I said, I think I can, because I can coach people. So anyway, they always want to know if I can cast the local roles because of the tax incentive, you see. They get money back each time they use a local actor. I mean, some people are believing me more, but it takes a bit of work. Mostly my reputation works for me. I could understand with 29 roles if they thought I could find Casey Affleck's mum in Washington State, and I did. Yeah, I could see, because it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Back in the day, they would take me on. I would do auditions and I would hand a CD-ROM. I would mail a CD-ROM, because it wasn't digital, to the LA casting director, who would look at the local actors, right? Are you following me? I would record it on a CD-ROM. Those mofos would hack my tapes. They would hack into my tapes and take out and give the director, yes, a re-edited tape. Why? Because they wanted LA actors in those roles. That's how good we were. And that happened on Z Nation. And so I started to, I'm looking over my shoulder as, you know, I started to take a really long time getting those tapes to them. I would do things like not submit the tapes to LA and get in a lot of trouble. I started to do things like just directly give it to the director and go, oh, I'm so sorry, terribly sorry. Should I? Oh, well, here you, I mean, I would play every game in the book to not give my Washington State audition tapes to the LA casting director. I mean, those days are gone now, and I do my own casting. I don't report to an LA casting director. But on Z Nation, it was open warfare. At that point, I didn't care. I said, no, I'm not open warfare. It was insane. And I'm not this badass confrontational person. I'm not. It's just like, oh, please wake me up when the confrontation's over. I get so much anxiety around it, right? But I thought, no, I'm going to fight for this. As long as I feel right in my heart, no, I believe this is right. I'm not handing over my tapes to be hacked. Also, when my tapes were hacked, I would cry. I would cry to the local producer, invariably men, and so but they used to hack my tapes. And then those roles, so then they would show the weaker ones, and the LA casting director would say, oh, we've got an actress here that can do this role, because LA actresses will work for nothing, fly themselves in. I have had local actors, particularly in Spokane, who just won't take a small role. They just won't. So that's the casting process, but blessedly, I don't hand over my tapes anymore. Workshops from any reputable casting director are good, only because they teach you about the industry. Casting directors may not be the best acting coaches, because most of them get into casting through admin and producing. They are not nurturing the actor. They are supporting the director. They are not lifting up the pool. They're looking for a breakout star. That's in LA, right? That's okay. But my point is that their workshops are worth attending because they're about the business. And that's the edge you want. It's like, all right, so they're not actor-centered like Nikkei Maru casting, fine. What about the business? How does it work from your perspective? What are the details? Nikkei Maru casting is actor-centered. I grow actors and I serve the producer. I develop the pool and I look for breakout stars, any age. Some of you know this, but I should tell you. It's in the chat. I am the patron saint of actors. That's not a nickname, I just am. I am self-appointed, I am self-anointed, and I have been the patron saint of actors, not there's only one, for about 20-something years. So, yeah, you're welcome. What else now? Ho-hum. Patron saint of actors. Never contact the... Thank you for humoring me. Very sweet. I can see you all laughing in your boxes. Never contact the casting director directly. Obviously, we're working together, so some of us have been emailing back and forth. Always go through your agent.